Welcome back to you now. If you've been following the NHL Stanley Cup final, you'll know what an incredibly exciting series it's been. The Pittsburgh Penguins and Nashville Predators are tied at 2 games each, heading into Game 5 Thursday in Pittsburgh. But while we're showing you the highlights, you may not get a clear sense of the physicality of it all, the physical price being paid to lift hockey's holy grail. For these two teams, it's been a grueling and painful season. For 9 months of it, they've been playing an intensely fast contact sport at a pace of 1 game less than every 2.5 days. Is it taking a physical toll? Of course it is. And who better to talk to about it all now is Dale Yake, physical therapist and athletic trainer. He's worked with major league teams and world-class athletes across all sports, including the NHL. Welcome, Dale. Collectively, these two teams have played 207 games, I think, for this season. You've been in the athletic trainer's room in the playoffs. When it comes to the walking wounded there, just how bad is it? Paint a picture for us.
Right now, it's an ugly scene, Patrick. You look at multi-hundreds of games, but more important than that, it's multi-thousands of hits that have occurred just during this playoff season. So typical NHL game is about 23 hits a game. We're now seeing about 50 hits a game. So the adrenaline's up, and as a result, the injuries are higher. It's not pretty in there right now. We're trying to patch them together and put them back on the ice.
It's all taking its toll. It must have been. Look, what about the actual specifics? What are the most common injuries NHL players have to deal with, especially when you're this deep into a postseason?
Well, number one is the most controversial, obviously, is the concussion crisis. Obviously in hockey, we see it in other sports, but particularly here, number of hits, concussions. Second to that, it's the soft tissue things that you and I may be more familiar with. Our shoulders, our knees, our hamstrings, particularly in hockey, the groin is a major soft tissue injury point. And like all of us, low back pain becomes to rear its ugly head at this point in the time of the season.
Yeah, there's so many areas of concern, and you wonder how they handle it mentally as well. But these guys will always want to be on the ice if at all possible. It's just that natural competitive instinct.
That's right.
Is it? Who makes that final determination? How vital is it to get it right?
Well, the NHL's fighting for that. The medical teams and medical staffs in the NHL have done a much better job in making sure the medical staff makes that final decision and making a decision to say, are you better than your replacement right now? And if you are going to play, are you risking injury that's maybe career-threatening? We all take that into consideration, but the final decision is that athlete that says, I can go.
Right, and that's a case of trust then, I guess.
That's right, it's a case of trust.
Okay, it took the Penguins 26 games over 4 series to win the Cup last year, and it could take 26 again this time around. They've lost the last 2 games. Are they maybe, just maybe, running out of steam a bit?
It's evident that the shift times are getting a little shorter for them as we go into the playoffs. That's a sign that the fatigue is starting to show. And as a result, it's now up to Coach Sullivan to manage that team very effectively in these final 3 games. They are running out of steam. If you look at the defensemen, they have a lack of defensemen right now due to injury. And that's showing through in how they're able to not stop the Nashville Predators.
So how do teams get the best out of their players? What is the key then to recovery for these players game to game? That's got to be vital.
Boy, for any professional athlete, it's massive, Patrick. Number 1 is nutrition. Number 2 is just a restful nap. These guys are great nappers, if you will. And thirdly, it's obviously what we do from a soft tissue management and getting away from the game. Right now, you'll see in these last 3 games, they're going to have 48 hours in between games. Gives them a little bit more time to rest and recover than they have had in the first 4 games. That's also an opportunity for recovery.
Well, who knew the nap could be so healing?
We need one too, maybe you and I, right?
There's time after the show. Thank you so much for joining us.
Really
appreciate your expertise.